Hey guys, so today I want to go over bonds, and I'm going to try and make this as plain English or non financial guy speech as possible, because I'm not a professional. I know there are some professionals that actually watch my channel, so if I get any of this wrong, please let me know below. But I actually believe I'm mostly spot on here. So, what is a bond? Right here is a bond is a fixed income instrument that represents a loan made by an investor, that's you, to a borrower. And that would either be corporate or governmental. So either the U.S. government, some other government, could be your city, municipal bond. Corporate, it could be any business that's issuing bonds that needs money. So the bonds are used by companies, municipalities, states, and sovereign governments to finance projects and operations. Owners of bonds are debt holders or creditors of the issuer. So when you buy a bond, you are basically loaning money. You are like Visa is to you if you're using credit cards. That's kind of basically the same way. The only difference is Visa makes big time money on their interest, and on a bond you don't make anything, hardly. So I'm going to do something very simple here. And what I got down here below is a 10-year bond, a fictional 10-year bond that's selling for $1,000. And this 10-year bond has a 2%, what they call a coupon or interest rate. Now that 2% interest is paid to you yearly. It could be spread out through, 12 payments, 6 payments, 2 payments, but it is 2% and it doesn't move. Once you buy this bond at $1,000, this is what it pays you. So to figure out your return, you take $1,000 times the 2% yield, and that would equal $20. So that's what you would make off of $1,000 bond at a 2% rate. Now this is a 10-year bond, so you times that by 10 and you made $200 over 10 years. Now at the end of 10 years, the borrower gives you back your $1,000. So your total investment is brought back to you, or is sent back to you, $1,000, and then you've collected the interest along the way over 10 years at $20 per year. That is how simple bonds work. Now, let's jump over here, because I'm going to talk about, a lot of people will jump into an ETF. Now, what an ETF does is they are constantly buying bonds. So when you see an ETF out there that's paying 2.5% right now, roughly, or whatever government treasury bond, I should have brought one up, but whatever government treasury bond ETF, like a BND or a BSV, a Mint ETF, if you look up those ticker symbols I just said, you'll find the yield. Now what that yield represents is the complete basket of bonds that they hold. Accumulated is what your yield is. Now what happens with these ETFs is as those bonds mature, as those bond issuers start giving them back the money that they've bought the bonds with. Those ETF holders, or the ETF company, needs to go out and buy more bonds, because they're not just going to sit on cash. They need to constantly buy the bonds. So even though you are getting a 2.5% yield right now on some of those bond ETFs, as these bonds mature, they're going out into the market and buying more bonds. And the only things available to them are these right here. Now, if we go to treasury.gov and we look at the interest rates, and if they're replacing that 10-year bond that I just showed in my example that was paying 2%, well, now they're buying 10-year bonds today was at 1.85%. So now they're only going to make $18.50 off that $1,000 bond that they bought. Now you're just buying a basket of it, and this is what they're getting if you're doing 10-year. I mean, if you look at 1 year, now they're getting 1.54, 2 year 1.58. They don't even crack 2.5 at 30 years. So there's people locking up their money for 30 years long at a 2.38% interest rate. Now, so the longer you hold that ETF, the lower the return is going to be, because they are going to be recycling as those bonds mature into these lower yielding bonds. They have to. There's no other way they're going to get any more interest out of a bond than what is currently available. So what that's going to do is decrease your return. That's why I'm so against bonds, because in a declining interest rate environment like we are in, bonds are a drag. They won't even keep up with inflation. If you think inflation is 2%, some say it could be 3%. So you're literally not you're literally losing money. Now you can, in the short term, make money off of your bonds, and that's if you are holding a bond that was issued previously at a higher interest rate. So if you had a 10-year bond and you bought it, I don't know, let's just say 5 years ago, it was 3%, right? And somebody out in the markets is looking to secure some money and buy some bonds. Well, all they can get right now is 1.85, but you're sitting on a 3% bond, and now they can come and buy that bond off you and say, hey, I'll give you X. This is getting a little complicated, and I can't make this simple. So you can, in the very short term, get an arbitrage by somebody wanting to get into your bond that you have previously at a higher rate. And this is it. This is your only real return on bonds, is whatever the interest rate is at the time. And if you look, 10-year treasury note today was 1.87%. It was up just a hair. And you wonder who's buying these things. Well, if you look, let me zoom in here and see if I can get in close. My computer's starting to get slow on me. And bear with me a second. So right here, you have this range. So the shorter the bond, the lower the yield. The longer the bond, the higher the yield. But the highest yield is a 30-year at 2.3%. So who's buying these? Well, insurance companies, they have to buy bonds. Pensions, they have to buy bonds because they have to be, what is that called, fiduciary, responsible for the money that they're in control of. They can't go out in the market and just, buy shares of Amazon. They have to be safe with your money as far as pensions and insurance goes. And then governments are also buying this. And you ask, why are governments buying our bonds? Well, here we go. Look at Denmark's 10-year bond. It's a negative yield. So you buy a Denmark bond and you're going to get less money back when that at the end of 10 years. Thailand is 1.4, Norway 1.4. Look at these. Sweden 0.15, Belgium you get 0.04%. Their Germany bonds is almost 0.25% negative. Portugal is almost 0.5% negative. So, when you're in a 0.5% negative interest rate environment, these 1.5s and 2.3 start looking very healthy. Anyway, I hope that covered bonds as simply as I could possibly do it. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'm going to do another video about bonds here shortly in the next day or two, and I'm going to show you why bonds were popular in the past. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Leave me a like and leave me a comment, and I'd appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Thanks. Bye-bye.